Bill O'Reilly here, Thursday, June 4th, 2020. You are listening to the O'Reilly Update. Here's what's happening across our nation. Minnesota upgrades its murder charge against George Floyd's police killer. The feds probe coordinated attacks on cops. Two of sport's biggest stars battle over the protests. The defense secretary breaking with the White House on troops. Civil unrest enters its second week, also ahead. Hollywood celebrities and virtue signaling. But first, Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison upgrading the state's charges against Derek Chauvin, the fired Minneapolis police officer, now facing second-degree murder charges instead of third for killing Mr. Floyd. 3 other cops on the scene will also stand trial for aiding and abetting a homicide. Federal government investigating whether criminals are coordinating attacks against police across the country. The DOJ detecting patterns at protests in dozens of states, including predetermined drop-off spots for rocks and bottles and bricks to be thrown at law enforcement. New Orleans Saints quarterback Drew Brees facing criticism after saying he still opposes NFL players taking a knee during the national anthem. Brees says, quote, "I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag." LeBron James disparaging Brees, saying, quote, "I know what's right and what's wrong." Well, Mr. Brees apologized this morning. I don't think he should have, but this is a very intense situation in the NFL, and I believe the national anthem won't even be played. Defense Secretary Mark Esper breaking with President Trump on whether the White House should send military to stop looting. The Insurrection Act of 1807 allows the president to deploy active duty troops on U.S. soil to stop an armed uprising. Former Pentagon boss Jim Mattis telling one reporter he is sickened and appalled by Mr. Trump's response. I don't think that's fair, but we'll deal with that in a later program. Civil unrest entering its second week since the killing of George Floyd on Memorial Day. Demonstrations began last Thursday in Minneapolis, spreading to most American cities. Curfew is in effect in New York until Sunday. Looting there destroyed more than 100 businesses in 5 boroughs, and last night another police officer was badly hurt. In a moment, virtue signaling and George Clooney. Right back with that. A former White House economist says there's a 100% chance of a recession and predicts 1 million jobs will be lost in April. So many Americans are moving to physical gold and silver as a recession-proof safe haven for their retirement. American Hartford Gold Group is a trusted leader in gold and silver, and they make it simple and easy to get started. They're family-owned and have an A-plus rating from the Better Business Bureau. Very important. Until you hold a precious metal in your hand, you'll never fully know the experience of being in control of your own retirement. If you are listening to me right now, the American Hartford Gold Group is offering new clients up to $500 in free silver. All you have to do is give them a call, 877-444-GOLD, 877-444-GOLD, or text SILVER to 65532. Please call the American Hartford Gold Group now, 877-444-4653, or text SILVER to 65532. Time now for the O'Reilly Update message of the day, virtue signaling. That is when a person tries to show how noble he or she is by siding with prevailing wisdom. Here's an excellent example from arch-liberal actor and alcohol seller George Clooney. Writing in the Daily Beast, Clooney calls America a racist nation. Quote, Eric Gardner was executed for selling cigarettes by a white cop who strangled him as we watched. We don't know when these protests will subside. We hope and pray that no one else will be killed, but we also know that very little will change, unquote. Now, Eric Gardner was killed by New York City cops, but we didn't watch We had nothing to do with it. It was a bad mistake, and those police officers paid the price, as the ones in Minneapolis are. There are 800,000 police officers in the USA. In 2019, 10 African Americans who were unarmed were killed by police. 10. George Clooney goes on. The anger and frustration we see playing out once again in our streets is just a reminder of how little we've grown as a country from our original sin of slavery. I mean, that is just insanely stupid. All right? It's virtue signaling at its lowest. So the Union Army lost 400,000 dead winning the Civil War. And now this guy says we haven't progressed since slaves were emancipated. That's just a lie. It's a lie. And then Clooney wraps up his article saying, quote, "So this week, as we're wondering what it's going to take to fix these seemingly insurmountable problems, just remember we created these issues so we can fix them. And there's only one way in this country to bring everlasting change: vote." That's another stupid statement. We didn't do anything, all right? For 8 years, you had a black president, Barack Obama, who did try to elevate the status of African Americans. He tried, and he failed because he used income redistribution to try to get more assets in the hands of minorities. And by doing so, the economy tanked. Our system cannot have the federal government run the economy. So African Americans and others were hurt economically. And the less money and assets you have, the less power you have. And that's what this is all about. I wrote a column on BillO'Reilly.com entitled "It's Not Black and White." George Clooney will never read the column because he doesn't care. He wants to be considered noble. I'm Bill O'Reilly, and I approve that message by writing it. Please go to BillO'Reilly.com for most honest coverage about the pandemic and the race situation. In a moment, something you might not know. Two guys, Kyle and Josh, were both losing their hair, which was no surprise to either, since they knew male pattern baldness ran in their families. The way they dealt with their hair loss, however, couldn't have been more different. Kyle put it off, losing more and more hair. Josh went right to Keeps.com to learn how to keep his hair. Keeps offers generic versions of the only two FDA-approved hair loss products out there. The genetic versions saved Josh a lot of money, and the consultation was simple. He answered a few questions online and snapped a few pictures of his hair. A doctor then evaluated everything and recommended the right FDA-approved hair loss treatment for Josh. It was shipped discreetly to his door. Keeps lets you save your hair without ever leaving your home. Please go to Keeps, KEEPS.com/Bill to get your first order of Keeps hair loss treatment 50% off. Half off. That's Keeps.com/Bill, Keeps.com/Bill. Now the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. Today marks the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Dunkirk. That was a catastrophic military defeat for the United Kingdom that nearly ended World War II and would have given Adolf Hitler a major victory. So why is it referred to as the miracle at Dunkirk if it was almost a disaster? Here's the story. In May 1940, Nazi Germany waged lightning war across northern Europe, conquering the Netherlands, Belgium, and France in less than 3 weeks. British forces trapped in France were totally unprepared, falling back to the tiny seaside town of Dunkirk. 380,000 troops huddled on the beaches, preparing for certain annihilation from the approaching German army and air force, the Luftwaffe. On May 26, Prime Minister Winston Churchill greenlit Operation Dynamo, the total evacuation of Allied soldiers in France. The Royal Navy had one big problem. The port at Dunkirk was so shallow, boats couldn't reach the beach. On its first day, the operation rescued only 7,000 men. Churchill then called on the British public for help. An armada of 1,200 private boats, many captained by fishermen, raced back and forth across the English Channel to save the troops. Hundreds of vessels were destroyed by the Germans. Churchill initially thought the plan could rescue 50,000 men. By June 4th, more than 380,000 soldiers were successfully ferried back to England. And here's something else you might not know. Adolf Hitler could have smashed the Allies on the beaches within days, but the vicious dictator hesitated. The reason: he thought the British retreat to Dunkirk was a trick, luring German soldiers and fighter planes into a secret counterattack. Hitler's top generals begged him to send in tanks. The dictator said no. When Hitler finally realized he was wrong, nearly all of the Allied troops were off the sand 4 years and 2 days later. Many of those same soldiers would return to fight on another French beach. Now this. You know me as a news guy, but today I'm a science guy. I've accumulated my share of aches and pains over the years, which started my quest for a natural solution. I found it in Omega XL. The stuff works, and it has 30 years of research to prove it. Omega XL is a powerful natural anti-inflammatory supplement that helps relieve joint and muscle pain. There's nothing like it. Omega XL has health benefits way beyond joint comfort. Here's another reason I take Omega XL. Research shows that it can rebalance inflammation in the body and promote a healthy immune system, vitally important. So, please do 2 things today for yourself. Stay close to your loved ones and order Omega XL, the supplement that can deliver pain relief while improving your overall health. Order now and get a second bottle absolutely free of charge. Please go to omegaxl.com/bill. That's XL.com/bill. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.